Hello everybody, welcome back to Total Justice Gaming. I'm Joe, and this is our Transformers TCG segment, Bot Talk. Today we will be going over my first entry into competitive Transformers with the Tullhoma Energon Invitational. We will be going over a deck profile, not the one I use at the Energon Invitational. There's a reason for that, which will be explained in the video. The deck profile we'll be covering is Menasor Wave 3, because I just haven't seen any combiner decks since Wave 3 released, and Menasor is one of my favorite combiners. So we'll be moving pretty quickly. I don't want this video to be super long. I'm trying to get the videos to go down a little bit in terms of length. So we're going to hop right in. So, my Energon Invitational in Tennessee, the one that I can get to in a decent amount of time. There have been plenty, but the one in Tullhoma, which is over at Ultra Dimension Games, run by Bradley Reeves, who's a wonderful gentleman, very nice. I managed to snag some cards from him. Helped me out a whole bunch. But we are going to be looking at who I played and who was there and what they played. Pardon me as I read off the phone. This is not a very elaborate list. We only had 8 people. We had 3 rounds and cut the top 2. But I'm going to try and remember everybody and what they played. So our first place person was Eli Clifton. He played Bugs. His father was Jonathan Clifton, who played Brian from Wreck and Roll's deck, Firewheels. Ella Walker, who was a very sweet little girl. She played Grimnizer. Sean Osmondson, ran Twin Primes Battlefield Legend Nemesis. I myself ran the 4-wide Pierce deck that is now starting to circulate around via Wreck and Roll. I was messing around with stuff, and I heard Joe say something about Pierce deck, and I started looking at stuff, and then I started making decks that involved Pierce, and eventually wound up to the same lineup, give or take. We will be covering that deck at a later time. I have made adjustments to it to make it my own creation. On top of that, I have added touches to it as a result of this event. Sorry, computer going off. That'll do that. So we will not be covering that deck profile because what I did to make my deck different from Joe's was very minimal. And I feel that Joe from Wreck and Roll covered it so much better and had such a better build that it's really just go watch their video. He does a fantastic job at describing everything. He only had one bot different from mine. Instead of Alpha Bravo, I ran Dragstrip because with Cutlass, Dragstrip was a 5 Pierce 4, and with Scoundrel's Blaster on him, he was 6 Pierce 3. So I just felt it was better than numbers than Alpha Bravo. That's really the only change. Like, there's very minimal battle card changes. I think there's maybe grand total of 3 different battle cards I ran in that deck and 1 bot difference. So again, I feel like because I didn't change so much from the 4-wide Pierce deck, that you guys should just go to Wreck and Roll and watch their video. That being said, let's continue on with this. 6th place was Brandon Webb. He ran Stunticons. 7th was Drew Hoffer. He ran a very interesting deck. It was Demolisher, Megatron Living Weapon, and I want to say Trigger Happy. And then Thomas Walker, who is the, I believe, older brother of Ella Walker, ran a Plains deck that involved Thundercracker with the Anticipation Engine, Acid Storm because there was a lot of he was afraid of a lot of bull decks. There were, excuse me, and again Trigger Happy. Trigger Happy saw a lot of play at this tournament. My first match, and guys, as I'm reiterating what I did in the matches, I'm going to tell the whole story the best I can. So the first match was against Jonathan Clifton, who ran Firewheels against my 4-wide Pierce. The first game was pretty close. It came down to one bot slugging out another bot. And he got the better of me on that one because Wheeljack hits harder than Trigger Happy. Game 2, he sided out his Ransack into Fireflight, and then I had to focus down Fireflight because of his Brave ability, which I made a judge call, and that is on me because I am not used to competitive play yet. So I didn't fully understand the Brave mechanic when all teams were ready, and I made a judge call. The judge call was very, very stupid on my part because, like, as soon as Brad came over, just like, dude, he's got Brave. You got to attack him. Dude's like, no, that makes sense. I'm an idiot. So, as the match was going, it was fine. I mean, I got my face beat in because Fire Wheels is a very, very aggressive deck, and with Fireflight in there, making sure I had to focus down on him first before going after anybody else, I stood no chance. The only thing that really caught my attention on this was Jonathan kept apologizing to me during the match and telling me how he's sorry and how unfair this deck is. And, you know, we're at an invitational event where we're trying to get into Philly. I understand you're running a very, very aggressive deck in a local meta. You're there to win. You're absolutely there to win. But it is absolutely okay to smash someone's face in. Don't sit there, and this is me, because I'm guilty of this too. And then I've talked to the guys like, dude, you made me feel real bad. I kept apologizing. Don't apologize for what you're doing in a game with such high stakes as this. You're there to win. I understand your deck is extremely, extremely tough. You're a very good player already. You made top 32 in Origins. Don't apologize. I mean, dude, we're there to have fun. We're there to win. There's no reason to apologize to your opponent. But afterwards, me and Jonathan, after everything was said and done, me and him sat and talked for a little bit. Super sweet guy. Great dad. I was so happy he brought his son all the way to Tullhoma from Alabama, of all places, just to play in our event. That is fantastic. We tried trading. I couldn't find anything to trade. I am now really sad I did not take a couple cards and try to trade him because there was stuff. And on the way home, I was driving. It's like I could have taken something out of there. So at that point, I lost. So I was going down as a 0-1 at the 0-1 at the moment. Next up, my match was with Ella Walker, who was running Menasor. That match was very, very slow, and it is because she is a younger kid. I want to say maybe Ella, maybe around 10 to 12, if I'm ballparking it. She had to read a lot of her cards. There are a lot of misplays on her part. Sometimes she wouldn't do the bold 4 on Lionizer when she attacked. I had to constantly remind her she needed to discard her hand to run Dino Chomp. And she had to read a lot of her cards. But you know what? She's a little one. I'm not going to call judge on a little kid trying to play a game about transforming robots. I understand what I just said about Jonathan. It's like, we're here to smash face in. That's fine if it's an adult between an adult. But she's a sweet little girl. She got the better of me in game 1. I made some players, and she managed to PTT Lionizer onto Grimlock, and I learned I need to focus down on RC, then Grimlock, then Lionizer, which I did that, and we went to game 2. I swept game 2 fairly quickly. Game 3, we ran out of time because, again, she was needing to read her cards. She wasn't taking so long that a judge, like I said, a judge needs to be called. Not that I was going to call Bradley for slow play anyways against a 10 to 12-year-old. So we ended up drawing. My issue is the way Transformers resolves ties. I feel like they can do better than just say, well, it's a tie. In game 3, she only had Lionizer. He had 4 damage on him. I had Trigger Happy, or Flame War, and Alpha Bravo still alive. No other card games, we total up life, see who has the highest life total. Perhaps Transformers, since it's still a new game, so they have room to change these 4 rules for tournaments. I hope they do to help resolve ties from not happening so often. Because like I said, I had 3 bots to her 1 bot. I had a higher life total. But it's still a tie, and a tie is a tie, and that's perfectly all right. Next up, I ran into her older brother, who I believe was maybe a couple years older, probably around 12 to 14, trying to ballpark again. Not good in guessing people's ages, especially kiddos. He ran a Plains deck, and me and him just sat there, had a good time. He was making jokes on how trigger happy we had 2 trigger happies, and we just had fun. And I just kept shooting and doing pierce damage to where all his planes just went down. Got that game 2-0. In the end, we only had Eli, who is Jonathan's son, went undefeated with bugs. Jonathan and Eli went into tops, and by the time I was finishing packing up, Eli had already beat Jonathan. Save for top 2, I believe we had a lot of 1-1 and 1s, which again contributes to my feelings on ties in this game. But all in all, this was a fantastic tournament. I got to meet a lot of people. I really enjoyed everybody's company. I am a bit introverted, so I'm a little bit shy. I don't really like talking to people unless I know them a little bit more, but I was able to open up quite a bit to these people. Sitting there joking around, being a giant Transformers nerd. It was a fun time, and Bradley put on a great event. Nothing but praise on him and the store over at Alter Dimensions in Tullhoma. He also had a fantastic selection of singles. I managed to get myself 3 Scoundrels Blasters and 3 Nobles Blasters from him. Those are such pain in the butt cards to find, and he had them at such wonderful prices. I can't speak any more highly of that. So that was the Tullhoma event. I came in 5th, running 4-wide blue-black Pierce. Again, I probably won't be doing a deck profile until I'm finishing fully modding out my version that I have taken notes from the tournament and have adjusted it to where this answers all the issues I had at the Energon Invitational. So my 4-wide blue will be moderately more different and enough to where I would feel comfortable doing a deck profile on it. But for right now, if you want to see what I ran, go check out Wreckin' Rules video because they just do the better job. And again, to everybody I played against, thank you so much. It was a wonderful time, and you guys made my first competitive Transformers experience so much fun. I can't even begin to tell you. I'm actually contemplating taking a 3-hour ride to another Energon Invitational, see if I can't do better and get that ticket to Philly. So we're going to conclude on this part, and then we'll jump right into the Menasor deck profile. Alright guys, we're back. We're going to cover Menasor. The Stunticons have been around for a while, so I don't think I'm going to go super in depth with them. We'll just run down stats and abilities. Starting off is Stunticon Dragstrip. Dragstrip is a 3/7/2. When he attacks, if I flip a orange pip and a blue pip, I can draw 2 cards. This will never trigger because it's a blue-black deck. On his bot side, he is a 4/7/0 with Pierce 1. On his tags, he is a Stunticon, a car, and melee and alt mode, and he is a Stunticon and ranged in bot mode. Next up, we got Off-Road. He is a Stunticon, a truck, and melee and alt mode. He is a 2/6/3 that has an ability of when a car attacks, do a damage to it. In robot mode, he's a Stunticon that's melee with his stats being a 3/6/2. That states when you flip to this mode, repair damage from this. We are following up with Breakdown, who is a Stunticon, a car, and a specialist. Stats are a 2/7/2 with the ability that says when this attacks, if you flip at least 2 blue pips, he gets +2 attack this turn. Meaning he's really, really good in car mode, sitting at a 4. In bot mode, he is a Stunticon and a Specialist with a 272 stats with a no ability. Dead End is a Stunticon card that is ranged and... No, that's it. He's Stunticon card ranged. He has Tough 1 for his ability. His stats are 272, much like Breakdown. Dead End is in bot mode, is a Stunticon and ranged with a 371 for his stats and the ability of when you transform into him, draw a card. Motormaster is a leader, a Stunticon, and a truck with the stats of 282 and the ability of when your other characters cannot take non-attack damage from your opponent's cards. And Motormaster's bot mode, he is a leader, a Stunticon, and melee. Stats are a 381, and he has the ability of, if this would take damage, you may instead choose one of your Stunticons to defend. Excuse me, I read that entirely wrong. If this would defend, instead you may choose one of your other Stunticons to defend instead. We put them all together, which I don't think I can do on this camera very well, guys. You have to zoom out quite a bit. Yeah. That's, gonna be a bit. Boop. Boop and boop. Transforming noises. Zoom out a little bit. Get him. Ooh, giant camera glare. I am so sorry, guys. Okay. So, Menasor is a combiner. That's his only one big thing. He is a 635-2 with Bold 1, Tough 1, Pierce 1. You may play an extra action on each of your turns. When this combines, draw 2 cards. And again, guys, I am so sorry for that camera glare. So, that is the Stunticons. They have been around forever, so I think everybody knows them pretty well. So, we are going to head right into the battle deck. Right off the bat, as soon as I zoom back in, make the cards much more readable. We're running 2 copies of Stunticon. Where did I put my cards in this? There we go. There we go. Stunticon Enigma. It's an orange. Not an orange. It's a green pip that says if I have Menasor on the battlefield, I can draw 2 cards. Since it's a green pip, I can just pick it up. It's why I'm only running 2 of, and we need this card to put all these Stunticons together into combiner mode. Next up, we got 3 copies of Scoundrel Blaster. It is also a green pip that lets us pick it up out of the discard after attacking or defending. Or the scrap, excuse me. Put only on Decepticon. If I'm hitting an Autobot, this becomes a 2 Pierce 2. Otherwise, this is a solid +2 attack card. Next up, we are running 3 copies of Hovercraft. We do have a couple bots that are ranged. This is +1 and does a massive spread attack for 1 point of damage across the opposing board. So we get to bump up attack and do some spread damage and be able to swing for higher numbers. Next up, probably the MVP of almost any deck that runs 5-star bots is Laser Cutlass. Laser Cutlass is a blue pip weapon that gives +1 and Pierce 3. This makes a world of difference on a ton on any bot you put this on. The stats and the Pierce just overwhelm sometimes. This gives us Motormaster to be a 4 Pierce 3. As I already said, with Dragstrip, he becomes a 5 Pierce 4. Breakdown becomes a 3 Pierce 3. All solid stats. This is probably the best card in the deck and probably, if not, one of the most important cards in the deck. We got 2 handheld blasters because of the double blue pips. Moving on. We are running 3 copies of Steady Shot because this does give us +1 Pierce if we flip it. It's still blue pip and a black pip, and one of your characters gets +2 until the end of turn. +2 attack. We're running 3 copies of Inferno Breath. We can tap a bot to do 3 damage, so if we want to attack somebody that has lesser stats that does not quite have a weapon on him yet, just deal a free 3 damage on a character that they can't stop. Running 3 copies of Pep Talk. Draw 2 cards. Just get more stuff in hand. Running 2 copies of Battlefield Report. Battlefield Report lets us draw and plan 2 while defending. Or excuse me, draw 2, plan 1 while defending. Lets us get some of the double blue pips out of the hand, or lets us make sure we are getting rid of dead cards in the hand to be able to make better use of it. Next up, we are running 3 copies of Smoke Cloak. Gives us tough 1. It also is a black pip, blue pip card, so we can increase our pierce, or at least get pierce when we flip it. 3 copies of Reinforced Plating, giving tough 2. We are a blue deck, so we will be trying to tank and absorb as much damage as possible, so that we can come in on a big, beefy version of Menasor. 3 copies of Extra Padding, again, more tough, and lets us pick it up out of the scrap pile on a offensive at the end of an offensive or defensive flip. Again, we want to absorb as much damage as possible, so we come in with a beefy Menasor. 3 copies of Force Field. This helps us slow down high aggro decks and heavy orange decks, so they cannot one-shot our bots. We are squishy, as we are a combiner team. Maybe not quite as squishy as some of the others, but we still squish pretty good. This prevents any damage greater than 5 to become 4 damage. 5 or more damage, excuse me. And then 3 copies of Piercing Blaster to give us more pierce and let us be able to swing for decent and constant unreducted damage. Sideboard. We are going to be running 2 copies of Infiltrate. This lets us fizzle their PTT or their Supercharge. We are going to be running 2 copies of that. 3 copies of Dampening Field. Again, we can swap out the Piercing Blasters for Dampening Field to prevent them from flipping more than 4 cards. Again, we're trying to slow down and mitigate as much damage as possible for the healthier combiner. Should we run up against opposing Pierce decks, I put in 2 Pinpoint Defense Systems. I know the 4-wide Pierce deck is now going to become very, very popular. So I'm probably going to have to start sideboarding at least 2 of these in decks now. If we want to be able to do more damage, I'm running 2 copies of Grenade Launcher just for the one-shot +4 damage on any of them. And then a single Battlefield Report if I need to draw even more cards or get a hand more aggressively, I can bump my Battlefield Reports up to 3. So guys, that's Menasor Wave 3. That's Stunticons Wave 3. I hope you enjoy it. I'm sorry I flew through it so quickly. I, again, kind of rambled earlier in the video, so I wanted to make sure we weren't going to have a super, super long video. As always, guys, please feel free to shoot comments. I love talking to everybody in the community. You can hit me up in the Facebook groups. I'm always on there chatting or dropping thoughts. If you have any thoughts on the video, leave them in the comment section. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, you know, all the fun YouTube stuff. And I will see you next video. So let's say go.